Quick first impressions on the Leica SL3. So I ordered this guy on launch day, and I have to say I'm super impressed with Leica's online store. They got it to me here in Austin, Texas in 2 days. And man, am I glad that they did. So my initial impression is basically that I think this might be the first time that a camera company did everything it said it was going to do in its marketing materials. All the launch videos that were made by various YouTubers, I think, were pretty accurate about this camera. I'm not sure that's ever happened before. I really don't think there were a lot of sort of puff pieces about this. I think, you sort of are being told about what you're actually getting. I would not say that about a certain fixed lens camera that came out last week, and a number of other camera releases, this year and in recent past. In my opinion, this camera is just a joy to shoot. Leica is right. We're sort of at an impasse in terms of digital camera, mirrorless camera image quality. So their sort of focus on shooting experience, user experience, was really smart. Adding this extra dial, touching up the menu, making the app just like seamless and work so fast was really smart. It just makes this whole experience an absolute joy to shoot. In terms of image quality, what I would say is that comparing it to the Fujifilm X-H2, for example, and I'll put up a sample image here. If you put Sigma or non-Leica glass on here, the best Fujifilm glass is going to look pretty similar to this, or that's how close image quality is getting. Similarly, if you put like a glass on this, it smokes the Fujifilm. It's much nicer looking. And then you're sort of comparing it to something like this, the Hasselblad 907 CFV Mark II 50C. And I would say, with the right kind of glass, like this Noctilux, for example, on the Leica, these are also very comparable. Some more to come on that, but that's just sort of my initial image quality impression. Like I said, the user experience is unbelievably good. I dig the tilt screen, really great. I like the buttons over here. I wasn't sure about that, but it's totally fine. You don't hit them if you're holding it. They set it up so your hand just misses them. It's pretty amazing how they thought that through. I don't mind the new power button. It's fine. I do like the Switch better from the old guy, but the SL2, but it's fine. The autofocus for my uses is pretty darn good. I haven't tested it in video yet. More to come on that in the next video. Yeah, plenty of buttons for what I need. I love the two dials on top that, ISO, shutter speed, aperture if you need it. You got the exposure triangle, easy enough to switch ISO with one of these guys. They've distilled this down to everything you need and nothing you don't. And it's just impressive how good of a job they did with that. Great screen, great viewfinder, but more on that in a second. Of course, great build quality. Leica builds them like tanks. Unlike the X100 for example, that has clear build defects, and I'll show a couple. It's made in China, and it shows. It's not the same as a made in Japan camera. This thing has no wiggly wobbly parts. Everything is solid. Nothing, unlike the X2D, the lens mount is rock solid. Just like this thing is built like a tank perfectly. If anything, maybe the shutter button sticks a little bit, but I think that'll resolve itself with a little bit of use. The buttons, the dials just feel just right, just like so many Leica cameras. They just really do the whole UI user experience just so well. Of course, none of these videos would be complete without at least a few things I don't like. Probably the biggest thing that I would change, I've heard that Leica has stated that this can be fixed with firmware, but the shutter doesn't come down to protect the sensor when you're changing lenses. And this is not to protect from damage to the sensor. It's just to keep dust off the sensor when you're changing lenses. It's so annoying to get dust on your sensor, and then you have little wiggly wobblies, artifacts in your image. Having the shutter come down basically eliminates that in 99.9% of the cases. So, I just don't know why every camera company is not doing that. I think Leica's already gotten that feedback and they're working on it. That's probably my biggest complaint. Second complaint is that, it didn't come with a battery charger. It does gobble up battery life as far as I've seen, and I've only got two of the new batteries. And then furthermore, my night core charger for the SL2 and the Q2 series of cameras doesn't work with the new battery. As far as I can tell, it doesn't charge the new battery. So I'm going to have to buy the charger, which I find annoying that they didn't put one in the box, even though I didn't like the old charger with the SL2. It was too big and bulky. So I'm glad they've come out with a different one. I'm also hoping Nightcore or somebody will come out with a revised version of this, because I prefer this little tiny guy so much more than the big chargers that Leica makes. While the viewfinder is great, I still think it's the best in the industry. I was sort of bummed to see that they didn't upgrade the resolution a little bit. Sony has the 9 million dot EVFs. I was hoping they'd figured out the iRes technology for that higher res viewfinder to make a already incredible experience just even that more amazing. But again, this is still the best. It's so much clearer than anything else. I don't know what they do with these, but it is just awesome. So I can't really complain, but it would have been nice to have that little upgrade. I'm neutral on the card slots. I actually find the internal memory on the M11 cameras kind of annoying, because sometimes it'll switch over, or I'll switch it over. It could be user error, and then I save it onto the camera, and I don't have a Lightning iPhone anymore, so getting the pictures in the internal memory off the camera is a pain in the butt. I prefer the two card slots, although I wish they had gone with two CF Express instead of an SD card to CF Express, but not that big of a deal. CF Express cards are expensive. SD cards are cheaper and easier to find in a pinch, especially. So, I guess that one's a wash. I prefer the tilting screen to the flip out screen for a camera like this. So no complaints there, really. I hope they come out with a video one. That would be cool if that had a flip out screen. But again, not a big deal. The app is so good that I think that shooting video on it, you'll prefer to use the app. If it works as seamlessly as it does for photo, my little bit of testing so far, then yeah, the flip out screen is no longer needed. It's a thing of the past. And I would rather have the tilt out screen in that instance, if that's all true. Another thing I forgot to mention that I don't like about this camera, and that can be fixed with firmware, is that the camera shows the correct exposure before you press the shutter button or half press the shutter button. But then when you do, it actually lights up again as if you were shooting with flash all the time. So that's great for studio work. But when you're not in the studio, it's confusing because you're not seeing your correct exposure when the shutter button is half pressed. That throws me off, and I wish they would fix that in firmware and just show the correct exposure regardless of whether or not you're pressing down the shutter button. This is a super small niggle, but the unboxing experience in the SL3 is not as exciting as it used to be. I don't think any of the SL cameras had the same kind of box as the M series cameras, but I miss the little drawers and the magnetized folding flap and stuff. But that really doesn't matter. Super small thing. But as Leica Store Miami has taught us, you have to keep the boxes for these things. So it is sort of a bummer that they've cheaped out a little bit on the boxing. The other thing I don't like is the grip. I don't know if you can see this here, but it's just a little bit wider. I think this ledge kind of shows you how much wider it is in the SL2. It makes the grip just a little bit chunkier, a little bit wider here. So I find myself kind of overreaching on it. I got fat fingers, so it's nice to have all this space here. I left that plenty of space here, at least for my hands. But it is a little chunkier than I would like. I would have loved to see a little more contouring. Like the Nikon Z7 in my book is the best grip ever made on a camera. Just copy that grip. That would have been great. But, again, kind of neutral on it. Not a deal breaker. I'm sure once I get used to it, it'll be fine. There's enough of a sort of purchase here, too, that you can put your thumb. So you don't need a thumb grip or a hand grip or anything. I really like that. Then I also noticed something that, this isn't in the center. It's to the left. So when you're shooting, it doesn't cover your whole face. So, I'm just thinking that this can probably replace my M11s, the monochrome M11 does render a little bit nicer. It has slightly better tonal shifts in my initial testing here. But I don't know. I just like this camera better. I'm more of a modern camera guy. I'm not so hung up on the retro thing. And this thing is so performant and gets so many things right. It is such a joy to shoot. I'm thinking about it. I'm just saying I'm thinking about it. The manual focusing experience is way easier on this with the viewfinder. The viewfinder you can put in black and white. So when you're shooting in black and white, the world is in black and white when you put the camera up to your eye. just saying, man, you know, bottom line is, initial impression is that Leica did an absolute bang up job with this camera. I'm super excited. Lots more content to come on this. You know, the Nikon ZF is gone because of this. Fuji cameras are in danger because of this. The thing I think they can do is add the ability to put LUTs into the camera for both photo and video. They sort of already did this with the Leica Lux, and since they're basically using Panasonic's technology, and you can do that in the S5 II and S5 IIX, it seems like they can add that in another firmware update, and that would basically eliminate the need for a Fuji camera and its film simulations for Leica users. Just another thought. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with video. You know, the Hasselblad, probably not in danger, but I may pare back that kit because it'll be much more of a special situations camera. The M11 monochrome, that might be in danger, just because this camera is such a good all-arounder. It's so performant. Great job, Leica. More to come on this camera. I hope these initial impressions were helpful. If you have any questions about this awesome camera, let me know in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.